Half-Life Episode 1 is probably the worst official Valve Half-Life content we've ever gotten. If you don't count Half-Life Source, that is. Honestly, part of me wishes that the episodes never existed even. The end of Half-Life 2 was so cool, so intriguing, and the difference in gameplay and style from the first game were so stark that when you continue on with the series, the episodes kind of have no choice but to be disappointing. I suppose that the best thing you can do is to just consider episodes to be extension of Half-Life 2, which I know that it is what they are, but games being different .exe files with separate store pages and separate menus always served as a kind of mental obstacle for seeing episodes as part of Half-Life 2, along with one other thing. One other thing that I hope to be rewritten with the 20th anniversary update, and that one thing is just how awkward ending of Half-Life 2 transitions into Episode 1. And that awkwardness is caused by literally one tiny element. At the end of Half-Life 1, G-Man hits you with the iconic "This is where I get off.
This is where I get off."
Then he leaves, Vertigon spam to save our butt along with Alex, G-Man shows up again, casual face, right? Then surprised look, then angry look, then the iconic "We'll see about that." And then a few days later you wake up under some rubble of a destroyed building because apparently Word Essence was wonky on that day, but regardless, when you watch these two sequences back to back, a question arises. G-Man has just left. It's been like a second. Why did he return? Is he stupid? What's worse is that his return happens after Vortigons show up. You know, like, Vortigons save us not during him speaking to us, so we truly don't know what was he about to say. Because when he eventually returns in Episode 2, he seemingly has a change of plans, or at least I think it's implied. You may disagree since he never outright says something like,
"Oh, Gordon, I was about to ask you to buy me some soup, but now that you have these new filthy friends, I'll just groom Alex instead."
What I think happened is Valve wanted to show Word Essence has an impact on G-Man before they could outright explain it verbally in Episode 2. But since now we have Episode 2, I kind of wish he wouldn't show up just after leaving. Or to be exact, I wish Vortigons would show up before he leaves, because I don't want to lose the iconic
"We'll see about that."
Like he is walking to the door and then suddenly Vortigons show up in some cutscene, so he turns around and gives that surprised look and then the rest of it plays out. Now, of course, it would require importing the episodes into Half-Life 2, and that may require updating Half-Life 2 engine, I presume. I mean, what do I know? How it functions right now is you can select the episodes from main menu, and it clearly loads into like a separate game with a separate menu. At least when you finish Half-Life, it automatically loads in a menu for Episode 1, and when you finish Episode 1, it automatically loads in the menu for Episode 2, so you wouldn't need to select it. But it's not a seamless experience. Transition between Episode 1 and 2 would also benefit if they, in fact, were just imported as part of Half-Life 2. Anyway, do you agree with me or disagree? If so, how strongly? Do you have a hypothesis on why did he come back? What was he about to say? What did he do while we were in this outside of time state? Maybe it had something to do with the briefcase that went missing between Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 1. I mean, it couldn't have been the same briefcase we saw in Half-Life Alyx, because then he wouldn't be carrying it in Half-Life 2. I mean, unless he went back in time and imprisoned himself between the events of Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 1, which I find to be unlikely, but I suppose we don't know the extent of his time manipulation power, so who knows? Actually, if that's the case, then I think it makes the transition between Half-Life 2 and Episode 1 even more awkward. Anyway, thank you for watching. I would appreciate greatly if you were to take your crowbar into my white forest and, enjoy Half-Life 20th anniversary. Woof, woof, woof.